Story 1. Am I the a-hole for confronting my friend about requesting nudes of my wife? I am 32 male and married to my wife, 27 female. We have mutual friends, 27 female and 25 male, whom we have known for the past 3 years. Recently, our wives went on a trip together. During said trip, my friend, 25 male, we will call him Ron, asked his wife several times a day for nudes of our wives together. We have previously had several conversations about intimate experiences in which we all have decided we're monogamous and don't have interest in each other's partners, but we do feel comfortable talking about our intimate lives together. Nothing has ever gone on between the four of us, and nothing ever will. Ron has confided in me over the past 3 years about issues with infidelity and his spicy addiction, and we've talked openly about those issues, and I have urged him to be faithful to his wife. He has had 3 affairs that he's admitted to. He has also made several moves on my wife in which every time she either ignored or shut him down. On to the issue. On this trip, Ron was texting his wife several times a day, asking her for nudes, which is totally fine, but also encouraging her to take nudes with my wife. He was even sending money as a ploy for pictures. Also, I should add, this trip was a concert that Ron paid for the tickets for our wives. It was his wife's Christmas present. So he used that as leverage for the pictures. My wife felt obligated to send a nude after Ron sent money to his wife to pay for something for my wife. The moment she sent it, she texted me and told me the whole story and how she felt uncomfortable. This went on for the whole weekend, with my wife being pressured into taking naked pics in return for money. My wife sent 2 pictures after being pressured. I confronted him today and he told me that I'm overreacting. He said that we all talk about spicy time together and that it's not weird that he asked my wife for nudes. I would never ask my wife for nudes of any of her friends, nor would I pressure her into doing that. His defense is that we have sent nudes between the 4 of us. For example, I sent him a Snapchat of me and my wife super drunk with my flaccid tool in her mouth. Gross, I know, but it was funny at the time. So am I the a-hole for confronting him and telling him that he's crossed a boundary? And begging his wife for naked pictures of my wife? No, not really. This guy is really overreaching. Sending something like that picture as a joke probably gave him the wrong idea. I mean, they were drunk. But sending a picture like that to this person who is making advances on your wife and asking for nudes of them, this guy is wanting to make something happen that is not going to happen. This is definitely overreaching, even with all the past and even with them talking about it, especially with him using money to guilt them into sending pictures. I don't think she should have sent the pictures at all. She should have told the husband all about this and say, deal with the husband. Say, you want naked pictures of me, ask the husband. Let the husband confront this guy and tell him it's not okay. Story 2. You can't work here if you're pregnant. I'm a cocktail waitress. I'm 7 months pregnant. Now, obviously, I don't drink while pregnant or drink on the job ever. This is kind of a crossover between this sub and one called Bad Women's Anatomy. A woman, the Karen, comes in with what I'm assuming was her husband and son and daughter and asks to be seated at 4 for lunch. We're not really a restaurant, but we do have a small app menu with sandwiches and wings and stuff. I give them menus and Karen says, "But wait, do you work here?" "Yep." "But you're pregnant. You can't work here if you're pregnant." "I work here. I don't drink here," I say with a laugh, trying to keep the mood light. The woman looks at me and says, "Have you taken any prenatal courses? Do you really think it's responsible to have your unborn baby here?" This is where I made an error. I get defensive about anyone asserting I'm a bad mother, obviously. So I said, "Well, you brought your kids in here." "Yes, and what kind of example do you think you're setting for them?" I'm still collecting my thoughts at this point when they grunt and wave me away. I figure I can kiss my tip goodbye, but hopefully that'll be the end of a discussion. Disclaimer: all quotes are the best approximation of my memory at the moment. I see them flagging down the bartender after a few minutes and figure they're ready, so go over. Karen asks to speak to a manager. Now, they haven't even gotten drinks yet, so nothing above my abilities could really be wrong yet. I just ask if there's anything I can help them with, and her husband, Mr. Karen, says really sternly, "No, just a manager. Didn't you hear my wife?" The place is too small for a manager. It just serves and bartends, and it just servers and bartenders and 2 co-owners. The one who's working is in the back on a phone call and will be ticked if I go and bother her. I realize they're probably still uncomfortable with my being pregnant, so say maybe Ella, the only other server, can help. But Karen just gets up to physically look for the manager. I admit defeat and go back to drag her off the call. The owner tries not to let on how mad she is about being disrupted and goes over, and with a big smile, to ask if there's anything she can help them with. Karen informs her, as though it's urgent breaking news, "Your server is pregnant." Owner says she's aware and asks if they'd prefer a different server. Karen: No, she can't be a drunk girl if she's pregnant. That's child abuse." Owner: "I assure you, none of our employees drink on the clock. Especially not our pregnant ones. If you'd prefer, I can have Ella serve you." Mr. Karen: "I don't want my kid seeing this." Owner: "Maybe I'm missing something. Seeing what exactly?" Mr. Karen, talking really slowly and condescendingly, "A pregnant woman around all this alcohol." Me: "I don't know what you're insinuating, but I would never drink during pregnancy." Karen: "Look, honey, didn't you take a health class in junior high? With a drink right under you half the time, alcohol vapor is absorbed into your blood through the air, and then that blood goes to the fetus and poisons it." Owner and I exchange a look and realize we won't get anywhere with her. Owner: "So we can have Ella serve you, or I'm afraid there's not much else we can do." Mr. Karen: "We're not leaving until she's placed on maternity leave. Or better yet, fired." Owner: "We can't help you." Mr. Karen: "I'll call the police. You're an accomplice to child abuse." Owner: "There is no child abuse to speak of, sir. Please leave." Karen, getting crocodile teary: "You may not think a fetus is a child, but I was taught to believe life begins at conception, and I will stand up for all living things, big and small, because that is what my Lord and Savior wants me to do." The entire time she's delivering this tearful speech, she's looking around expecting others to, I don't know, join in with her? Applaud? Owner: "You're disturbing my customers, and if you don't leave, you're trespassing, and I'll have to escalate this, which I don't really want to do." Karen: "Jesus is love, and Jesus said this is not okay. Just because you think it's okay to abuse a child if it's small enough." This is an Irish pub, and the owners are devout Catholics. She wasn't having any of this. Owner: "Hey, I don't need anyone to tell me what Jesus said. If there were abuse here, I'd have acted to stop it, but there isn't any. I need you to please leave." Mr. Karen: "I'm calling the police." Owner: "You do that." We just stopped trying to service their table. As we all wait for the cops to arrive, Karen keeps trying to give us her sermon, but there was a game on that people had come to watch, and eventually everyone yelled at her until she piped down. Enter awesome officers. Awesome Officer 1 and and Awesome Officer 2. There's a tongue twister for you. Officer 1: "Yeah, police. We received a call. Is there a Mr. Karen in here somewhere?" Mr. Karen: "Right here, officers." Officer 1: "You said you were witnessing child abuse. Are the parties involved still in the bar? They pointed me out. I pretended not to notice because I'm worried the officers will take them outside and I won't be able to watch any more fireworks. Officer 2. So what exactly is going on? Karen. That woman was drinking. She's pregnant. You can plainly see she's very pregnant. Before I can go over and tell them she's lying about my drinking, the officers look at each other and look back at the Karen family. Officer 2. That's not illegal. Karen. What? Mr. Karen. Look here. Officer 1. It's definitely not recommended, but it isn't illegal. Now, do you know the woman? Is she a friend of yours? Family? Karen. She works here, in a bar, and she's pregnant. Mr. Karen. I want to see this place's liquor license revoked. Officer 2. So, listen, she isn't doing anything illegal. What I can do is I will talk to her, but we can't take any action beyond that. If there's anything else you observe that you'd like to report. So the second officer comes over to me and takes me to a quiet spot while the first is getting their personal information and taking the rest of the statement. Karen is crying again, and I assume bemoaning being the last bastion of good Christian morality in this bar. Awesome Officer 2 introduces himself and congratulates me on the pregnancy and says I probably overheard why they were called and starts to offer me some public resources for new mothers, parenting classes, etc. I didn't want to interrupt him, so I was waiting for the right moment to interject with my plea of innocence. That's when patrons come over thinking I'm in trouble and start defending me. We have plenty of regulars who know me, and they would not let this hogwash stand. Some even complained to the officers that the owner had asked the Karen party to leave and they'd continue to make a scene. So both awesome officers go talk to the owner, who said she was just about to call them herself on account of the trespassing. But sirens outside are bad for business, and she was hoping the Karens would eventually leave on their own. The officers tell the Karen party they need to leave. Mr. Karen. This is a public place. I have every right to be here if I want. Officer 1. No, sir. This is a private business, and the business owners have asked you to leave. It sounds like more than once, but at least once since we've been here. Karen. This is a disgrace. This is an affront to Scripture and child safety and... Officer 2. I understand you're upset. Let's talk about it outside. He places a hand on Mr. Karen and gives him a firm look. This next part was said as Mr. Karen walks out backwards so he can keep yelling at us, but bumping into things every step of the way. I'll be contacting the authorities about your liquor license. Bump. I happen to be close personal friends with the mayor. Crash. And you two. I want badge numbers. Don't think we're done here because we haven't even, bang, started. So the officers took them out, and as it was told to me by a regular who left around the same time, walked the Karens to their car, which was illegally parked in a handicap space, for which they were ticketed. They did make a complaint to the liquor authority, claiming, among many things, that we served minors. We can't prove it was them, but we're sure it was them. We were investigated, but obviously came up fine. My boss asked me to hold off sharing this story with anyone until the matter was settled, but now it is. So I had to share it. Still laughing about it. Thanks for the gold, and the other gold, and the silver, and the other golds, and the other silvers. Oh man, just total assumptions on these people. These are people parked in a handicap spot, brought their kids into a place that served alcohol, and complaining, saying that this woman was poisoning their unborn baby with alcohol vapors when they had their kids with them around alcohol breathing the same vapors. What the hell? Just amazing that these two officers really helped out and really understood what was going on. And it's also very true. I work security. Businesses, those aren't public places. They're private businesses, and people can be trespassed at the private business expense. Expense. I'm looking for a different word, but discretion. That's the other one.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 3. Mother of bride forgets it isn't her wedding. As a kid, I would often be working at my dad's workplace. He was an off-premise caterer and event planner and would often be hired to put together lavish wedding parties. Huge feasts, cheese and fruit tables 40 feet long, lots of wine. Sometimes multiple pigs for both an afternoon and an evening roast. Lots of fancy people wanting fancy parties, paying a ton of money and expecting the world to revolve around them. One event in particular stood out because when the bride-to-be and her mother came in to go over details, they had some rather heated disagreements over some really stupid stuff. My dad would just sit there quietly, not taking sides, and patiently waiting for people to work out the differences, but one argument came to an interesting and final conclusion. The mother of the bride was arguing about the specific shade the decorative ribbons and icing trim on the cake should be. Up until that point, she had proven herself incapable of letting her daughter have the final say in anything, from the menu to the plate garnishes to the time the meal was to start. The mother was insisting that she have her way on everything. The daughter was gritting her teeth and just grinding through it, but when her mother started to fuss about the exact shade of off-light green, no that's too light, no that's too dark, the bride snapped. She loudly and firmly stated, "Mother, if you don't knock it off right this instant, I am going to disinvite you from the wedding. This is my day, and while I value your input, the decisions will be mine." She then turned to my dad, looked him squarely in the eyes, and said, "I will be signing your check. You work for me. Nothing is decided until I say so. If my mother tries to plan or change anything, you are to call me immediately. I do not expect you will have any problems with that." My dad simply says, "Not at all," and they got back to planning the wedding. I don't think this woman really meant to be it sounds kind of condescending the way she talked to the dad, the event planner, but I really don't think she was really trying to be rude to him. I think she was just kind of directing that anger towards the mother and just being very clear about what she wanted. I would have taken it in stride and, yeah, not at all. I completely understand. And I would have said something more. This guy just said, "Not at all." All that needs to be said. I wonder if the mother tried to meddle any further, tried to weasel her way into other stuff. What do you think? Story 4. Entitled mother tries to send me away from my mother's party because my lazy eye scares her daughter. So when I was small, I was involved in a car accident which damaged my eyesight and looks of my eye itself. It's not really a lazy eye, as my pupil just lazily rolls around my eye most of the time. Some nerve thing, doctors say. My mother hosted a great party with grills and everything and invited all her friends from the neighborhood. Innocent, right? Well, not really. So I was eating with my friend when a little kid came to our table. It was a cute little girl that said she was lost, so I lowered myself to her level to ask about her mom so we could find her. But as I did, she ran off crying. I shrugged it off. There were a lot of parents that are more experienced. This is where the fun begins. Entitled mother and her daughter approached me when I was taking another burger that my mom made. She took a look at me and then made an obviously disgusted sound. Then she said, "What is that?" What is what, ma'am?" "What's with your eye? No wonder it made my daughter cry." "What? Can't you at least hold it up?" "Do I look like I can?" "Don't raise your voice, young lady. You don't belong to this party anyways." "Why?" "You scare kids." At this time, people hear us, and my mom storms in, furious. She explained everything and sent the entitled parent away. Entitled mother swears at my mom before going off. I love my mom. Wow. Not, don't worry, child. That's probably something that happened to her. Maybe ask the person, "Hey, Could you explain possibly what's wrong with your eye? Or maybe explain to the child, don't worry, it's okay. It's not something that is going to, it's not anything that's going to hurt you. Maybe explaining something to the kid, or maybe doing something, asking the person to explain what happened so the kid can learn something. But no, you scare my kid, go away. Just because of an eye. And in front of the mother's party, and Mama Bear just came in straight out. Wrong move, completely.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.